So yes, today's lesson is a little bit shorter than normal because I have a longer Kahoot waiting for you guys. So yeah, today's lesson is about exercise for wellness and healthy living. So in the previous lesson, we talked about exercise for athletic training and performance. Like, how can I be really good at this sport, or how can I be really good at doing this particular thing? But this time we're going to talk about how to be good, good in life. Just how to live healthily. So as you can see, we have a fruit salad. Fruit salads are delicious. People walking, yes, because both feet are on the ground. Yeah, okay. And then here's a meme I found, which is pretty funny. This is actual footage of me trying to enjoy eating healthy. And then it's a sad cat, and he's eating lettuce, and then little ranch, and then, oh, look how sad he looks. I love cats.
I couldn't come to last class because I had a sleepover party.
Oh, that's okay.
My parents didn't want me to bring my electronic devices to have the class in the tent.
It's okay. As long as you had fun, right?
I did.
Good. All right. So yeah, you can always go back and watch on YouTube if you find the videos helpful or you didn't get to attend the session before. So I will go ahead and begin the actual lesson now. So why is exercising important for just general living and, well-being? So the reason it's important is because lack of exercise is a risk factor for almost every disease, and that's not an exaggeration. Heart disease, obesity, cancer, and diabetes, they can all, not exercising, can all contribute to developing these diseases. And, these are deadly, debilitating diseases that you don't want. So what's also important in preventing disease is limiting the time sitting. So even if you exercise a lot, if you sit too much, the effects can be detrimental to your health, even if you exercise a lot. So keep that in mind. But the good thing about exercising to prevent disease and to live healthy is that the intensity you need to benefit is not nearly as intense as you need to improve your athletic performance. So say, for example, if you're training to run a 5K race as fast as you can, it's going to be very intense workouts and training schedule. But if you want to, just run, to be healthy and enjoy your life, well, you don't have to run as nearly, it doesn't have to be as intense as you would if you were training for a specific event. So that's what's good about exercise just for healthy living. It doesn't have to be super, super intense. Even just a brisk walk is very helpful in preventing these diseases. So yeah, sitting too much can cause diseases of your blood vessels, of your lungs and heart. It can make blood pressure too high, and it can make you obese. And so another important concept you should know about healthy living is energy balance. So energy balance is simply calories in minus calories out. So it's like a math equation. So what is a calorie? A calorie is just a unit of energy. You know how like a feet is a measure of distance and the cup is a measure of liquid volume? Well, a calorie is just a unit of energy. So when energy balance is positive, your body weight is going to increase. So as you can see right here, weight gain, and that's because the input of calories is greater than the calories out, or how you burn those calories. And when something's heavier on a scale, it's going to tilt the scale. So whenever you eat more, whenever you take in more energy than you expend, then you're going to gain weight. And when energy balance is negative, body weight is going to decrease. So the opposite is occurring here. So you are burning more calories than you are actually consuming. So yeah, just think of it mathematically. So when it's negative, the calories out is going to be greater than the calories in. So okay, this is completely false, but let's say you ingested 1 calorie and you burned 2 calories in one day. 1 minus 2, that's -1. So your energy balance would be -1. And over time, you would lose weight. But obviously, you don't eat 1 calorie a day. You don't burn 2 calories a day. And so, yeah, there are a lot of factors that determine how many calories we spend or how many calories we burn or spend. So I can talk about some of those factors. So resting metabolism is just, from existing alone, your body is going to burn calories. Yes, because your cells need energy all the time. Just sitting here, you're burning calories because your cells need energy to keep themselves alive. So that's why we always have to keep eating. We can't just stop eating because eventually we die because there's no energy. And then a fun fact I think was pretty cool was that, so ATP, the energy molecule of the cell, when you turn an ATP into an ADP, that releases 1 to the 10 -23 calories. And so if you haven't covered scientific notation yet, 1 times 10 to the -23 is equivalent to 1 over 1 with 23 zeros in front behind it. So it's an extremely small number. But I just thought it was pretty cool because that's a pretty small number for turning an ATP into an ADP. Thank you, Eleanor. Yeah. I'm glad you find the class really interesting. That's good. So are there any questions about energy balance or the importance of exercise? All right, I'll go on ahead. And so now we're going to talk about exercise and obesity. So obesity is one of the biggest health problems in the developed world. And in fact, it's so big, it probably costs us an estimated $200 billion in medical and productivity costs. So those are money costs associated with treating obesity and costs associated with when someone is obese, they may have to take leave off of work. And so that's considered productivity costs. So yeah, $200 billion. That's how much we're losing due to the obesity epidemic in our society. So yeah, as you can see here, obesity contributes, can cause a lot of other diseases that will ruin your quality of life, such as liver disease, which can be deadly. Being obese can increase your risk of cancer, and it can cause mood disorders, which can make you angry or very sad. And it can also cause diabetes or heart disease. So yeah, being obese is a big health risk, and it's very common in the modern world, and it's costing us a lot in money and lives. And so fat in the upper region poses a greater health risk than fat in the lower region of the body. And this is due to pressure. When there's more fat in the upper region of your body, there's greater pressure on the organs in that area, such as your lungs and heart. And so that increases the probability of you suffering something lethal in that area. And so while dieting alone can reduce one's body fat, if it's not supplemented with exercise, muscle deterioration will occur. So that means if you're aiming to lose weight, or if someone wants to lose weight, if they just diet but they don't exercise, then they're going to lose muscle mass, and that's not good, because if you lose too much muscle mass, you may not be able to do daily tasks, or you may find it hard to do daily tasks because you need muscle to move stuff and move around. And so that's why when you're treating obesity, you should always aim to not only eat healthy, but also exercise. So that way you can keep your muscle mass. So life doesn't become harder over time. And so what these are actually fat cells. And so this is the root cause of obesity, is these fat cells over time of your energy balance is positive for too long, then these orange fat cells are going to get too big. And then these orange fat cells compress your other organs, and that can cause organ failure. And that's terrible. And that's also why it can cause all these other disorders. So are there any questions about exercise and obesity or anything we've covered? All right, if not, I'll go on ahead. And so now I want to talk about exercise and cancer. So if you don't know what cancer is a deadly disease, and it's a result of the cells in your body. They divide too much, and it causes a tumor. And then this tumor can cause organs to fail, and that can cause death. So exercise can actually lower your risk of cancer, especially breast, endometrial, and colorectal cancers. So exercise is like medicine, essentially. It helps prevent these cancers right here, along with other types of cancers, but especially these types of cancers. Exercise will help reduce the chance that you develop these later on in life. And so even if one has cancer, those undergoing chemotherapy to treat, that's a cancer treatment, exercise is shown to reduce fatigue in these patients. So that means the cancer patients can enjoy a higher quality of life because they have more energy to talk with friends or do daily tasks. Like, for example, this cancer patient is running, and we just talked about how exercise is helpful in treating and preventing diseases. So that is very good for her or him. And so I think, so you may be wondering how exercise can help lower the risk of cancer. And it's not 100% certain yet, but one of the main theories in how exercise helps prevent cancer is autophagy. So autophagy is just a fancy word of recycling of cell components. So as this picture you see here, so this is mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell. So what essentially happens is inside the cell gets recycling centers. Inside the cell, there are recycling centers, and then these recycling centers, they eat mitochondria and other organelles, and they recycle it. And so by recycling it, you can make new mitochondria that are healthy and can help prevent cancer. So for example, if you have defective mitochondria, it can cause cancer over time. And so with autophagy, your cell is going to keep recycling the mitochondria so that way cancer doesn't occur. So I thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, I really like this picture because it shows it very well. The recycling center is eating the mitochondria, and it's going to break them down and then build them back up. So are there any questions about exercise and cancer or autophagy?
What are the recycling centers called that eat the mitochondria?
They're modified lysosomes, and lysosomes they're compartments within the cell surrounded by fat, and they have protein. The lysosomes, they have proteins inside that break down parts of the cell. In this case, the mitochondria. They'll break them down into their component parts.
Does that mean that a drug that stimulates lysosomes could possibly be used to treat cancer or something like that?
Well, our bodies and cells are so complex. We just don't know what would be the effect. So I can't give you the definite answer on that. That's why we have a bunch of research studies studying autophagy and how it can be used to treat cancer. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. So are there any other questions? All right. If not,
will there be a Kahoot today?
yes, there's a Kahoot at the end. It's a little bit longer than usual.
Oh. Does it only cover today's content?
It covers what we learned over the entire course. It's a review. Okay. Any more questions? All right. I'll go on ahead. And so now we're going to talk about exercise and heart disease. So you may have heard of heart disease before. And heart disease is a general term for diseases of the heart and blood vessels. So remember, this is the heart, it pumps blood, and the blood vessels are what blood travels in. And so actually heart disease is the most common cause of death in the entire world. That's how deadly this disease is, and that's how widespread it is. It's the most common cause of death. Anything you can think of, heart disease kills more. So a poor diet and lack of exercise. So heart disease essentially, it happens when a poor diet and lack of exercise causes fat to build up in the blood vessels over time. So this picture shows it right here. So this yellow part is fat. So over time, if you don't exercise and you have a poor diet, the fat is going to keep building up in your blood vessels until eventually the blood vessel gets blocked and blood can't travel. And when that happens, you usually will die because remember, blood provides oxygen to your tissues and oxygen and glucose to your tissues. And if the tissues don't have oxygen and glucose, they're going to quickly die because remember, they can't sustain lactic acid fermentation for very long. So yeah, when fat builds up inside, this increases the chance of blood clots, causing death. And so this buildup of fat that can cause the blood clot is most common in the coronary arteries. So the coronary arteries, I circled them in green for you right here. So these are arteries that actually supply the heart with blood. So remember, the heart is a muscle, and muscle needs oxygen and glucose to contract and move. So the heart itself needs blood. And so whenever fat builds up in these coronary arteries and a clot occurs, this is called a heart attack. So as you can see, over time, the fat develops inside the blood vessel, and then it can cause a block or a clot. And so yeah, here's some pictures of blood vessels. So this is a healthy blood vessel, and this is an unhealthy blood vessel. And so as you can see, the unhealthy blood vessel is starting to, it's yellow because fat that builds up in the blood vessels is yellow. So as you can see, fat is is building up around the blood vessel, and that's not good because that can cause a clot, as this picture shows. So are there any questions about heart disease or blood vessels? All right, if not, I will move on. So yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit more about heart disease. So these are the factors that can contribute to developing heart disease. And so I want you guys to know this because remember, as I said, this is the most common cause of death. So I want to make sure that you and the people that you love don't have to suffer from this terrible disease. So type 2 diabetes, we're going to talk about diabetes later on. That can contribute to heart disease. Hypertension, which is high blood pressure, can also contribute to heart disease. Abnormal blood lipid levels, that's a fancy way of saying the fat in your blood. Remember, as I said earlier, fat in your blood builds up to cause this. That contributes to heart disease. Tobacco. Tobacco is another word for cigarettes. It's what's in cigarettes. That can cause heart disease. Physical inactivity. So that's not exercise. And that also contributes to heart disease. And obesity. So remember, as I said earlier, obesity can cause a lot of other diseases because the fat cells get too big and start compressing organs, and then those organs can fail if they're compressed for too long. So yeah, but the thing about it is physical inactivity. Whenever you start exercising, these other 4 factors also decrease. Whenever you're physically active and exercise a lot, you reduce obesity, you reduce your chance of diabetes, you lower your blood pressure over time, and your blood fat levels return back to normal. And so that's why exercise is so powerful. It reduces almost all of these factors to reduce your chance of heart disease. And so I wanted you to see this. So these are pictures from a study. So in this study, they had monkeys that didn't exercise, and they had monkeys who did exercise. And then over time, they measured. So the monkeys were on a high-fat diet, and so over time, they measured how clogged the blood vessels got with fat. And so as you can see, with the monkeys who didn't exercise, the fat is building up and making these blood vessels narrow. But in the monkeys that exercise, there's almost no fat accumulation in this blood vessel. So exercise is very powerful in preventing heart disease. And so another contributor of heart disease is what I talked about, abnormal blood lipid levels. So that's a fancy way of saying the amount of fat in your blood. And so there's healthy fat and there's unhealthy fat. So healthy fat is called HDL, and funny enough, the H doesn't actually stand for healthy. Yeah, and then there's also unhealthy fat, which is LDL. And so a healthy diet can increase your levels of HDL and decrease your levels of LDL. And the same can be said for exercise. So healthy diet and exercise are very powerful preventers, I think that's a word, preventers of disease. So are there any questions about what I just covered? All right, I'll go on ahead. So why is it better to exercise and eat healthy than to just eat healthy and not exercise? So you can unmute or you can put it in the chat. So remember, we just talked about the benefits of exercise and the benefits of eating healthy. And we talked about right here. Here's a hint, guys. Okay, so I got one answer that says exercise promotes autophagy and influences physiology of people. Just eating healthy while staying sedentary still puts you at high risk for problems such as muscle deterioration, heart diseases, etc. All right, good job. I'm glad you answered, and that is correct. So exercise helps prevent a lot of other diseases. So think of healthy diet as So think of healthy diet as a boxing glove, and think of exercise as another boxing glove. So when fighting someone, one boxing glove isn't going to be as effective as 2 boxing gloves. So, you can fight disease better whenever you exercise. All right, if you have any more responses, you can go ahead and put in the chat, and I'm going to go on ahead. So now I'm going to talk about exercise and diabetes. So you may have heard of diabetes before, but I want to explain what diabetes is because I didn't know what diabetes was until high school, but I think it's important to know because, you may have heard it a lot in your family or something. So the main diabetes I'm going to talk about is type 2 diabetes. This is by far the most common type. Type 1 is hereditary and you can't change it. So that's why I'm not going to talk about it. But type 2 is preventable. And so what it is diabetes. It occurs when there's too much sugar in the blood. So remember, just like we talked about, when there's too much fat in the blood, these blood clots can form. When there's too much sugar in the blood, this can mess up tissue. This can mess up organs in your body. So yeah. So the main cause of diabetes, I spelled body wrong. It's caused when the body no longer responds to a hormone called insulin. So I didn't explain hormones, but think of hormones as it's a chemical molecule and it travels throughout your blood. And then cells, they sense the chemical in the blood and then they respond to it. And so diabetes occurs when cells don't respond to insulin. So when cells stop responding to insulin, they're going to stop taking in glucose. And that's dangerous. That's dangerous because this can mess up the chemistry of your blood. So yeah, this is a big scary diagram. Don't worry, we're not going to go over it. But if you look at it hard enough, if you look at it long enough, you can see why if your tissues don't take in glucose, it's gonna alter the blood chemistry that can be lethal. And so not only can diabetes kill by altering your blood chemistry. Oh, one of my summer camp instructors has diabetes. So yeah, diabetes is, I think it's pretty common. And I think most people will know at least one person with diabetes. And so not only can diabetes cause death if it gets severe enough, it can cause crippling fatigue. So you can't do daily tasks. It can also cause kidney and heart diseases. So the heart diseases we just discussed, diabetes can cause this over time. It can also cause...
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So why do we use like, there's like a thing on your arm and then like, what is it used for?
Okay, so the thing on your arm is a special device. So remember, your body doesn't, in diabetes, your body doesn't respond to the hormone called insulin. So what that instrument is, it's something that injects insulin into your bloodstream. Because in type 2 diabetes, you respond just a tiny, tiny bit to insulin. So if you keep injecting insulin, you can control your blood sugar. So that's a treatment of diabetes.
How do you find insulin?
So insulin, you don't really find it. It's produced by your body whenever you have high blood sugar. It's produced by the pancreas, which is it's an organ next to your stomach.
By that I meant, like, how do they find like the insulin to put it in like a body who like has diabetes?
So like, how do they make the insulin?
Yeah, do they like just take it from someone who has a lot?
So what they do, it's pretty complex, but essentially what they do is they get a cell culture. So cell cultures are just, they're like petri dishes, or like, think of it as like a glass plate, and it has a bunch of cells on it. And so what they do is they engineer the cells to produce just insulin. Instead of work together to be a tissue, they genetically change the cells to just produce insulin all the time. And then the cells produce insulin, and then the companies harvest this insulin so that way they can give it to people and treat diabetes.
Okay, thanks.
And so you see the trend here, exercise, it can't cure diabetes completely, but it definitely helps prevent some of the more severe symptoms. So exercise allows blood sugar to be lowered, and over time allows muscle to better respond to insulin. In the chat. Okay, yeah, thank you. A Sage official upload. You can read more about creating insulin in this article after class. So yeah, that'll explain. It's pretty complex, but it explains how insulin is made from cells, from cell cultures. So as you can see with this simple diagram right here, and what exercise does is it lowers blood glucose. And remember, diabetes happens when there's too much glucose in the blood. So exercise is going to decrease the blood glucose and increase your insulin sensitivity. So when your body no longer responds to insulin, this is called insulin insensitivity because it doesn't respond to insulin. It's not sensitive to insulin. But exercise actually increases your body's sensitivity to insulin. So that's how it helps treat it. Are there any questions about diabetes? All right, I'll go on ahead. And so now I want to talk about exercise and the brain. So you may think during exercise, you're just focused on surviving the workout, and you may not think your brain is active, but your brain is actually very active, and blood flow is increased to the brain during exercise. So I think this diagram shows it pretty well. So red means a lot of blood, and blue means a little bit of blood. So during no exercise, when you're just sitting, not doing anything, there's very little. Well, I mean, there's still blood going to your brain, but it's not nearly as much as during exercise. Look how much blood is coming to your brain during exercise. It's a lot more than when you're not. And so because of the increased blood flow, exercise is shown to decrease your chance of cognitive diseases and help treat some current mental disorders. So this would include Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. These are disorders that affect the movement, memory, and personality. And so exercise can actually help you prevent these diseases and help treat these diseases so they're not as severe or debilitating. I think that's right. And so not only can exercise help prevent those diseases, it also increases plasticity, connections, and nerve growth of axons and dendrites. So if you remember from lesson 3, when we talked about physiology, neurons are the cells that undergo action potentials, so that way you can move, and they do a lot of other stuff in your brain so you can think. So exercise actually increases the amount of axons and dendrites of these neurons. And so when that happens, your brain is more connected, so it's more efficient in doing tasks. So essentially you get smarter with at regular exercise because there's more connections being made in your brain. And so also, not only exercise can do those two, it can also improve mood, concentration, memory, energy, and decrease stress and anxiety. So this is an excerpt of a study where they measured clinical depression in women by amount of daily exercise. And the women who exercise the most, you can see that their chance of clinical depression is almost halved compared to women who didn't exercise at all. And yeah, even just a little bit of exercise per day, about 10-30 minutes per day can decrease your chance of depression by almost 20%. So yeah, exercise is a very strong tool to keep a healthy brain. And it helps you in school because it improves your concentration, memory, and energy. Yeah. Are there any questions about exercise and the brain? All right, if not, I will go on ahead. Oh, something in the chat. I'm still stressed about going to high school. Oh, it's okay. I'm sure you'll do great in high school. Just remember to exercise so that way, you do better in school and you decrease stress and anxiety. That's why I wanted to teach you guys about exercise, starting from cells all the way to the beneficial effects it'll have. I'm sure you'll do great. And so the last thing I want to talk about is the dangers of fad diets. So you may have heard of these diets before. And so what fad diets are, they are diets that promise to help you lose weight quickly or promised, some other extraordinary claim like, oh, this diet is going to cure cancer. And that's just false. No diet can completely cure cancer by itself. And so one thing you should know in general, this applies to life in general, not just fad diets. If it seems too good to be true, it's probably not true. So like if it said, oh, wow, you can lose 50 pounds in 1 week with this new diet, it's promising too much. It's not going to be true. And so I want to talk about these 3 diets that are especially common. And so first I want to talk about the ketogenic diet, or you may have heard it referred to as the keto diet. And so in this diet, one eats a lot of fat and protein and eats almost no sugars. Okay, I've seen ads about some super formula thing that melts fat. Exactly. Especially the fat burning pills, those are just, it's completely false. They're too good to be true. You can't just magically melt. I mean, let's look back at fat cells. Like, you can't just melt these eating a pill or something. Let's say it's tablespoons of water before bed. Yeah, exactly. Like, it's just, it may have some effect, but it's not significant. And, it doesn't come with the benefits of exercise that we just talked about in preventing diseases and improving your brain function and all that. And so why is the keto diet bad? So remember this one, you eat a lot of fat and protein and you eat very little sugar. So if you remember our lesson on metabolism, this was during the 2nd week, fats can be converted into sugars. So if you eat a lot of fat and no sugar, well, guess what? Your body is going to convert this fat into sugar anyway. So it's like you were eating sugar the entire time. And then the keto diet, there still needs to be some research on it, but early research suggests that it can cause brain and heart damage, which is not good at all. And so another diet I want to talk about is called the Paleo Diet. And so this is a diet that focuses on eating foods our ancestors ate, with the assumption that, oh, if our ancestors ate it, then it must be good for us now. And so why is it bad? Well, it's because the assumption that, oh, because our ancestors thousands of years ago ate this food, it must be healthy for us now. That's just not true. There's no evidence to prove that point. It's just baseless conjecture. Like, like we don't know. And so not only is the whole idea of paleo diet wrong, it also excludes some healthy foods like beans. You're not allowed to eat beans or whole grains on the paleo diet, even though they are very healthy foods. Whole grains and beans are healthy foods that have vitamins and minerals and are good for your GI tract. So that's why the paleo diet should be avoided. And so you may have also heard of this diet called the Detox Diet or cleansing diet or juice cleanse or anything similar to that. And so this is a diet that focuses on juices and cleansing or detoxifying the body. So why is this diet bad? Well, simply put, there's no evidence to support detox diets at all. So your liver is the main organ that detoxifies your body. And, drinking some weird juice isn't going to improve your liver function. If your liver wasn't functioning good, you would be dead. So these diets are they don't make any sense. And then also, if you stay on one of these juice diets for too long, it causes stomach problems, and your stomach, it causes stomach problems, and you don't want those. So you may be asking, okay, but what should our diet be anyway? So I think your diet it's pretty common sense. You should just have a balanced diet with plenty of fruits and vegetables and water. I mean, obviously you don't have to eat just that the entire time, but fruits and vegetables are very healthy for you and part of a balanced diet. And the key is to find a diet that works for you, to find food or cook food in a way that you love it, even if, so that it's healthy. Because, there's like a million different ways to season chicken or to cook bell peppers. And so this is a brief review that summarizes basically everything we've talked about. So benefits of exercise: it prevents many, many diseases. It helps prevent disabilities. such as low back pain, arthritis. So arthritis is when your joints get inflamed and it's hard to bend your joints. Like bending your knees would be hard with arthritis. And also exercise can improve your quality of sleep. So it's easier to fall asleep and your sleep is more restful and you get more out of it. And exercising also decreases your chance of immobility or not being able to move. And it prevents isolation. When I say isolation, I mean that in the social sense, like being isolated from other people. Because usually when you exercise, you're exercising with other people, whether it's with a sports team or your parents or your friends. It increases your confidence and increases your, your well-being. You just think, oh, wow, I just ran a mile. I feel amazing right now. And also prevents dependence. So this means as you grow older, you don't have to depend on someone to help you live, because with exercise, you've trained your muscles, you've trained your mind, you've trained your entire body to keep functioning healthily and normally. And so that's why exercise is so important in our world. And so now we're going to do everyone's favorite part, the Kahoot. So this Kahoot is a little bit longer than normal, but I'm sure y'all will have fun. And it covers everything we've learned so far. So that it's like a final review, essentially. Oh my goodness, Kahoot, I don't want to buy your premium plan. All right, so let's go ahead and play this Kahoot. Oh wait, okay, before we start Kahoot, did we have any questions about today's presentation? All right, if not, I'll go ahead and start the Kahoot. So yeah. So I'm gonna put the Kahoot code in the chat if you can't see it. So the Kahoot code is 37316.
Can we wait for a while?
So that way more people can join?
Because I need to open my code.
Okay, yeah. I'll wait for more people to join. Although I don't know who APC is, but they joined pretty quick. I wonder who that is. So yeah, there's no background video today. It's just the Kahoot music.
I'm going to need to load.
Oh yeah, that's fine. I can wait for about 5 minutes. But since this Kahoot's a little longer, we need to start more promptly. So yeah, make sure y'all join the Kahoot. Ninjas might win. That name sounds familiar. Make sure y'all join the Kahoot. I put the code in chat. And I'll say it again in case you can't access either of those. The code is 3731634.
Oops.
Okay, I see that you're in Eleanor. It was a W.
Typo.
Well, Eleanor.
I'm gonna rejoin.
Okay. So make sure y'all join. Sophia, Fiona, Amanda, if y'all haven't joined already. APC, Armored Personal Carrier. Oh, I don't think so. I hope not.
I got my name almost wrong again. I forgot the E.
Antigen presenting cell. It's all right. 5 people. They know it's better than normal.
I might not be able to answer some questions because some of the classes I had to go early or miss them.
Oh, that's okay. It's just do as much as you can. So I'm gonna go ahead and begin because it's kind of a long, lengthy Kahoot because it's a little bit more than normal. So let's do full screen to get the full Kahoot experience. So what organelle do muscle cells not have? So remember, organelles are the tiny organs of a cell, and they do many functions. So what organelle do muscle cells in our body, which one don't they have? All right, yes, muscle cells do not have chloroplast. So remember, mitochondria are the powerhouses of the cell. Muscle cells have those. And every cell in our body has a cell membrane because that's essential for survival of the cell. So yeah, chloroplasts are only found in plants, but we did not talk about plants this session. All right. Question 2, where is calcium stored?
Why is my name still with W?
It is?
Yeah.
I mean, it's okay. I know it's you. Oh yeah, so for this question, where's calcium in muscle cells? Is the mitochondria, the cytoskeleton, smooth ER? So yes. All right. Good job. So calcium, it can either be stored in the smooth ER or it can be stored in the mitochondria. So the mitochondria actually stores some calcium, but for muscle contraction, the calcium usually comes from the smooth ER. And the cytoskeleton doesn't actually store calcium. It uses calcium for muscle contraction, but it's not the storage of it. All right, APC, Nicole, Eleanor, all right, y'all are doing good. So true or false? An organ is made up of tissues. Is this true or is this false? So remember, okay, good job. All of y'all got that right. So proud of y'all. So yeah, organ, like your heart, is made out of heart tissue. Yeah. So which is not a part of the, which is not a part of aerobic cellular respiration? So remember, we talked about energy systems on week 2, and we talked about the 4 steps of cellular respiration. Which one of these is not part of the 4 steps of cellular respiration? All right, yeah. The phosphocreatine system. Remember, this is its own independent system, and it's only found in muscle cells, and it supplies ATP for just about 7 seconds. So the citric acid cycle and glycolysis, well, the citric acid cycle is always a part of cellular respiration, and glycolysis is a way to make glucose enter the aerobic cellular respiration. So yes, the phosphocreatine system is its own system that is not part of aerobic cellular respiration. So true or false? The waste products of cellular respiration are CO2 and water. Is this true or is this false? So remember, CO2 is a gas that you exhale, and water, well, you know what water is. All right, yes, the waste product of cellular respiration are CO2 and water. I would show you guys, but we're running out of time. But yes, just remember, it's a waste product because we always exhale carbon dioxide, and your palms are usually almost always sweaty, or they're slightly wet, and that's because water is one of the waste products of cellular respiration. All right, good job, guys. Keep going. Right. During an explosive movement like jumping or sprinting, what energy system are you using the most? So during a sprint or jump, it only occurs for about 2 to 3 seconds. So which one of these?
I don't know.
Oh, it's okay. Just try your best, and I'll always explain at the end. Oh yeah, this one was kind of tricky. So an explosive movement like a jump or sprint, jumping takes like a second. And sprinting, depending how long you do it, it can be real short. But usually you're going to be using the phosphocreatine system. And remember, this is a system that makes ATP very, very quickly, but it can only last about 7 seconds. So yeah, so during the 7 seconds, this is where you're going to get most of your ATP during a very explosive and short movement. Yes. So fermentation goes after the phosphocreatine system. It can only last a couple of minutes. Or aerobic cellular respiration is what we do to survive constantly. Just, sitting down. Our cells are going to be doing aerobic cellular respiration using oxygen. So yeah, pretty tricky question. So true or false? Calcium flow into the axon of a neuron allows the release of neurotransmitters. Is this true or is this false? You can also find the answer to this question by looking at the diagram. So good luck. So yes, this is true. So if you look at this diagram,
it's pretty obvious if you look carefully at the
picture, yeah. So yeah, if you see, look at this diagram. So this is the axon, and then you can, as you see, calcium flows in and causes the neurotransmitters to be released to the postsynaptic cell. All right, good job, good job. Keep going, you guys. So which proteins are involved in muscle contraction? Do you guys remember which ones? Is it actin, is it myosin, is it hexokinase, or is it hemoglobin? All right, yes. So the main proteins involved in muscle contraction are actin and myosin. So remember, myosin pulls on actin, and that causes muscle contraction because myosin makes actin more compact.
I just hesitated between both and just realizes that both are correct.
Yeah, sometimes there are multiple answers. I'm glad you knew. So yes, remember hemoglobin. Actually, I don't think I discussed hemoglobin, but it's a protein in blood that carries oxygen. Yeah. And hexokinase is an enzyme you don't need to know about, but it's part of cellular respiration. So true or false? Arteries always have blood enriched with oxygen. Is this true or is this false? So the way you can think about this is, remember, what did I tell you arteries? What is the A? Arteries
I know
always...
it, but I can't tell it now because I asked the question and I still remember it clearly.
That's good. That's exactly what it was for. All right, great job. Y'all did amazing. Because
you said it was away, so usually it's like it's already taken the oxygen.
Yep, that's good. So remember, arteries means they always go away from the heart. So remember, there are some arteries that don't have a lot of oxygen in them. And so that's why this is wrong. And y'all got it right. Good job. So true or false? To inhale, we decrease the pressure of our lungs by contracting certain muscles. Is this true or is this false? Oh, wow, you answered that quick. So yes, this is actually true. So if you remember back, I think it was lesson 4, to inhale, we increase the volume of our lungs. So that way the pressure inside our body is less than the pressure in the atmosphere. And remember, gases go from high to low pressure. And so because the pressure inside our chest is going to be lower than the pressure in the atmosphere, the air is going to rush into our lungs. All right, so what is the most important phase of the stress recovery adaptation cycle? So remember this was from lesson 5 where I discussed, the stress, and then you recover from the stress, and then you adapt to the stress, and then you're at a higher fitness than you were before the stress. All right, great job. All of y'all got that right too. So yes, each phase of this cycle, they're all equally important. If you didn't have one of these, then the whole cycle would fail, and you wouldn't get better over time. Because you need stress to signal to your body to start improving. You need to recover, or your body's not going to improve, and your body needs to adapt. So that way it gets better over time. So what is energy balance? So remember, we discussed this today. So is it calories in versus calories out? Okay. All right, I'm glad y'all answered that very quick. Yeah, energy balance.
I barely had time to answer.
It's okay. So yeah, remember, energy balance is calories in minus calories out. So true or false? We need oxygen so that so aerobic cellular respiration can occur. Is this true or is this false? All right, yes, this is true. Remember, during oxidative phosphorylation, the last stage of cellular respiration, your body actually needs oxygen and will turn it into water, so that way it can make ATP. So what is not a side effect of exercise? So exercise has a lot of side effects, most of which are positive. So which of these is not a side effect? All right, I'm glad all of y'all got that right. Pregnancy, that's right.
Obviously.
You will not get pregnant from exercise, but you will have improved concentration, decreased risk of cancer, and a stronger heart.
Imagine if that was true.
That would not be good. So why should you exercise?
I can't see the answers.
Okay, so red is to improve memory and focus. Blue is to prevent diseases. Yellow is to build strong and healthy. Okay. All of y'all are going to get it right anyway, because all of these are valid and good reasons to exercise.
Unless you didn't click anything.
Yeah. So remember, exercise improves your memory and focus. It helps prevent all types of diseases. It builds strong and healthy bones and muscles, and it decreases your stress and anxiety. All right, so let's see how y'all did. All right, good job, Eleanor. You got over half of them right. You too, Nicole. You got almost all of them right.
That's impossible.
And then Mysterious APC got all of them right. And so yeah, good job to everyone
who
who
always
participated.
have all of them right.
Someone in ninjas. All right. Well, I've had a blast teaching the past 6 weeks, and I hope you learned a lot in our lessons.
And I hope you keep teaching.
Oh, I'd love to keep teaching.
Sure.
Ooh, and you should also keep your hair like that.
So I actually have to cut it soon, unfortunately. So sad. Yeah, so thank you all for coming to this session.
Bye.
Bye. Make sure you fill out that survey.
Yeah, I finished.
Okay.
Bye.
See y'all. Thank you for coming.
Bye.
I hope y'all learned a lot.
Yeah, I did.
Good. All right, that's a wrap for exercise physio.